His mind was a tangled mess as he tried to figure out Yuan Tao's situation. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Unless he could find a way to activate Yuan Tao's ancient dragon rhino bloodline. But how exactly was one supposed to activate a dragon rhino bloodline? The thought brought a fresh wave of frustration, making his head throb. Just then, a brilliant flash enveloped his consciousness. Wait, how did I get into the Heavenly Dao Library? He was somewhat surprised to see a book drifting towards him. Could it be that the Heavenly Dao Library could actually search for the answers to questions held deep within one's mind? Upon seeing the book's title, a guess formed in his mind. Could this be a guide to activating special physiques? He flipped open the cover, and the words within read, "There are generally 3 methods to activate a special physique. First, cultivate diligently, following the prescribed steps. Second, identify the physique's inherent attribute and then consume a corresponding medicinal pill." When he read the third method, he was rendered momentarily speechless. What in the blazes is this? The text read, "Third, to experience near death or be poisoned. This is the second method." It even mentioned enduring the agony of over 70 cuts or ingesting a lethal poison until blood streams from all 7 orifices. What a charming approach. And if that didn't manage to activate the physique, wouldn't you just croak? Some second method, that is. It looked like the first method, relying on pills, was the only viable option. With this in mind, he decided to visit the Alchemist Association. Perhaps there he could find a suitable medicinal pill, one that could activate Yuan Tao's dragon rhino bloodline and Zhao Ya's pure yin physique. After all, in this world, nearly all of the upper 9 trades had their own respective guilds or associations. Alchemists were no exception. While their standing might be a notch below that of master teachers, they were still highly revered, a path many aspired to. Before long, he arrived at the Alchemist Association, located within the city. At that moment, the young woman at the reception desk was muttering softly to herself, "I really hope none of those shameless pests show up today." Upon spotting him enter, she quickly plastered on a smile and approached. "Good day, sir. How may I help you? Do you happen to sell books here? Specifically books about the effects of medicinal pills, the kind that can awaken special physiques." Hearing this, the receptionist's brow twitched almost imperceptibly. "If you're looking to purchase books, please head out the door. Turn right and keep going. You'll find a bookstore down that way." "This is the Alchemist Association, thank you." He quickly waved his hands. No, that's not it. I'm looking for books specifically on the effects of medicinal pills. A regular bookstore certainly wouldn't carry such texts." Seeing his insistent demeanor, the receptionist's expression immediately soured. "I've already told you we don't," she snapped. By now, she was convinced he was just there to cause trouble. Unaware of her thoughts, he wondered inwardly. What's with this attendant's attitude? Is it that time of the month for her or something? He scratched his head, offering a slightly sheepish smile. "Look, your Alchemist Association must have a library, right? A repository of books? Could you perhaps let me take a look?" "All right." "I'll tell you straight," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "The Alchemist Association does have a library, and it's divided into 2 sections, basic and advanced. Even to access the basic library, you need to be at least an alchemist apprentice to go in and browse. Are you an alchemist? An alchemist apprentice even?" Hearing her words, he looked completely blank. "Huh? An alchemist apprentice?" So the protagonist, like some naive bumpkin, had just waltzed into the Alchemist Association, asking to borrow their specialized books. This led the receptionist to assume he was just trying to hit on her. She inwardly scoffed at him for being neither an alchemist nor even an apprentice. He had no right whatsoever to enter their archives. He blinked. "There's such a rule? Well then, can just anyone take the test to become an alchemist apprentice?" Test? She raised an eyebrow. What? You fancy yourself capable of testing for Alchemist Apprentice? Upon receiving his affirmative nod, the receptionist stepped out from behind the desk. The assessment area is just over there. I'll take you right now. Inwardly, however, she was still convinced he was just looking for an excuse to linger. You haven't attended a single apprentice workshop, and you think you can just test like this? We'll see how long you can keep up this charade. He, however, remained oblivious to her inner cynicism. Instead, he asked with a cheerful grin, So, about the assessment, are there any particular books I should study? At this, the receptionist was utterly dumbfounded. His blatant attempts to chat me up, I tolerated. His deliberate time-wasting, I also put up with. But if you're trying to make a good impression, couldn't you at least pretend to be somewhat knowledgeable? And so, she retorted impatiently, the assessment for an alchemist apprentice requires memorizing the medicinal properties and unique characteristics of 100,000 different herbs, the history and origins of alchemy and so forth. He heard this. Is that all they test? Sounds simple enough. Where can I find books on these medicinal ingredients? I'll go take a look right now. Simple? The receptionist's face was a picture of disbelief. She thought inwardly. The unique properties of each herb, their compatible combinations, and the myriad reactions they can produce. Just memorizing 100,000 herbs is a terrifying feat in itself, never mind mastering all their individual attributes. Even with what I consider a pretty good memory, it took me several years to learn all that. And even then, it's easy to get things muddled during the actual assessment. Ugh, whatever. He's just trying to show off anyway. I can't wait to see him make a fool of himself later. With this thought, she led him further inside. They arrived at an examination hall where a middle-aged man was seated. Seeing the receptionist enter, he asked in a familiar tone, Ah, you're here. Looking to buy books, or is someone here for an assessment? No, it's not me. It's this gentleman. He says he wants to take the Alchemist Apprentice assessment. The man heard this and turned to the protagonist. You wish to take the assessment? Upon receiving an affirmative nod, the man continued, The registration fee is 2,000 gold coins. If you pass, it'll be refunded. If you fail, it's forfeit. This is to prevent those who know nothing from wasting our time. Hearing this, he didn't hesitate in the slightest. He readily agreed and with a cheerful grin took out the money. Seeing this display, the receptionist became even more certain of her earlier suspicions. Just as I thought, some rich young master. Seeing no objection from him, the man reminded, There happens to be an assessment session today, but it's scheduled for 2 shichen from now. You can just come back in 2 shichen. 2 shichen? He thought to himself. It takes a full shichen just to get here from the academy one way. It's hardly worth going all the way back now. With this in mind, he asked, Do you have any books here related to the apprentice assessment? Would it be all right if I read here for a bit? The man observed him. Ah, cramming at the last minute, are we? He then gestured towards a room behind him. Everything in there is relevant. Buy them, read them, take your pick. However, with only 2 shichen left, isn't it a bit late to start hitting the books now? He smiled faintly. I'll just browse, a little. No need to purchase anything. Witnessing this exchange, the receptionist felt an even greater surge of disdain. You're quite the actor, aren't you? Fine, this young lady will see this through with you today. Let's see just how long you can keep up this act. Before long, she heard the distinct rustling of pages being turned coming from the room. But the speed. Was he really reading? The receptionist couldn't help but wonder what on earth he was up to. The man at the side, without even raising his head, commented, He probably just hasn't found the book he wants yet. Don't mind him. You could also use this precious time to do some reading, you know. Meanwhile, inside the room, as he rapidly flipped through the books, a wave of realization washed over him. I originally thought alchemy was simple, he mused. That All you had to do was follow a prescription, adding ingredients one by one. But now I see it's not like that at all. No wonder becoming a master teacher is so difficult. Forget their other profound skills, just this alchemy alone. Just alchemy itself is this incredibly complex. Truly formidable master teachers command mastery over multiple professions. The very thought is daunting. Meanwhile, the receptionist, seeing that he still hadn't emerged after quite some time, couldn't help but grumble internally. This fellow really knows how to put on an act, doesn't he? Just as this thought crossed her mind, she saw him emerge from the room. Seeing him, the man reminded, "The assessment is about to begin. You should head in." He acknowledged with a nod and walked into the examination hall. As soon as he entered, he overheard other candidates murmuring amongst themselves. "Did you guys hear? The examiner this time is none other than President Ouyang, the head of the Zhang Xuan Kingdom's Alchemist Association. We're doomed. I've heard he's notoriously strict. There'll be no room for luck this time." Just then, a dignified voice cut through the chatter. "All right, quiet down." Looking towards the source of the voice, they saw a middle-aged man slowly approaching. "Everyone, since you are here for the assessment, allow me to state things clearly. If anyone is caught cheating, they will be banned from taking any assessment for life. The rules have been stated. Now, I will explain the content of the assessment. The Alchemist Apprentice Assessment consists of 3 stages. First round, a written examination. Second round, timed identification of ingredients. As for the third round, well, it's relatively simple, a test of your cultivation base, if no one has any further questions, then let us begin the first round. You will have 1 shichen to complete the written test." In his quest to simply borrow some books, he had somehow ended up taking the Alchemist Apprentice Assessment. This turn of events was truly something else. However, when he received the exam paper, a slight frown creased his brow. 1 shichen? So, many questions. I never thought that after transmigrating to another world, not only would I become a teacher, but I'd also have to sit for exams. How is this so similar to my previous life? At this moment, Ouyang Cheng, acting as the examiner, announced, "The examination papers have been distributed. You may begin answering. You have precisely 1 shichen." Hearing this, a sly grin spread across his face. He thought to himself, "Those books on medicinal pills I just absorbed into my mind. They should come in quite handy now." Following that, thought he mentally commanded with a decisive internal slap, "Flaws." In the next instant, the Heavenly Dao Library provided information. Alchemist Apprentice Assessment Paper. Crafted in the White Robe Workshop by a craftsman using wheat straw. Duh? Are you kidding me? I asked for answers to the questions, not the defects of this damn paper. It seemed there was no other way. He would have to try again, focusing his intent specifically on the exam questions themselves. Describe the classifications of greenleaf herb and the characteristics of the earth realm ashenfinger flower. After reading the question on the exam paper, he once again silently intoned, "Search!" This time, the Heavenly Dao Library immediately provided the answers pertaining to the content of the exam paper. A delighted smile played on his lips. Just as I expected. In the next second, while the other candidates were still racking their brains, he had already begun to write furiously. But this rapid answering speed immediately caught Ouyang Cheng's attention. Looks like another young master from some influential family trying his luck, he thought with a sigh. Every assessment, regardless of the question types or specific problems, is always different. There's never been any repetition. Even if someone came every day to try their luck, it would be useless. It seems I really need to clamp down on this kind of attitude. While Ouyang Cheng was still lost in these gankai, he had already finished the exam paper. Ah no, he had finished copying the answers. He stood up, preparing to hand in his paper, and the other candidates all turned to look. That guy's finished. Already? So fast? Could it be he knew he wouldn't score well and just gave up? He looked towards Ouyang Cheng and said with a smile, "Excuse me, when does the next round of the assessment begin?" "Wait outside. If you're notified, you can come back in. If you're not notified, it means you didn't pass and you can go home." Just then, an apprentice standing nearby walked over and asked, "Teacher, should I take his paper to be graded first?" Ouyang Cheng snapped angrily. "There's no point in even looking at that kind of paper. It would only serve to infuriate me further." Meanwhile, when he walked out of the examination hall, the middle-aged man was momentarily stunned. "What? How are you out already? It's only been half a shichen." Before he could even open his mouth, the young lady from the reception desk chimed in with a saccharine, mocking smile. "Does one even need to ask?" He obviously found it too difficult and gave up in despair. Hearing this, he could only manage an awkward smile. Why has this woman been sneering at me from the very beginning? Soon, another half a shichen passed. The assessment ended, and the candidates began to leave the examination hall. Just as Ouyang Cheng was in the midst of grading the papers, another alchemist, Du Man, walked over. "Brother Ouyang, how's it looking? Any promising candidates in this batch who might pass the assessment? Any at all? Any candidates this time who might actually pass?" "I happen to be in need of an apprentice." "Pass," Ouyang Cheng replied without even looking up from the papers. "Look at these answers. Utter nonsense, every single one. If I were to accept any of them as apprentices, I fear the Alchemist Association itself would be disgraced." At that moment, Du Man noticed a lone exam paper lying on the floor. "Huh. What's this one about?" "Brother Ouyang, haven't you looked at it?" Ouyang Cheng glanced at it disdainfully. "It's from one of those young masters. No need to look. I already know he couldn't have possibly passed. Rather than get angry looking at it, it's better not to grade it at all." "Oh, a young master, you say? Let me see just what kind of answers we're dealing with, to make you decide he failed without even a glance." However, when Du Man actually saw the exam paper, he was completely stunned. Beside him, Ouyang Cheng was still muttering to himself, lost in his own complaints. These youngsters, knowing nothing, just rely on their wealth to barge in here for the assessment. But before he could finish his sentence, Du Man interrupted. "No, Brother Ouyang, you should take a look at this too." Puzzled by Du Man's reaction, Ouyang Cheng took the exam paper. What is it? Are this fellow's answers too preposterous for words? But as he began to read the paper, a flicker of surprise crossed his face. The further he read, the more astounded he became. His face was a mask of utter disbelief. How is this possible? By the time he finished reading the last page, he was completely dumbfounded. Holy hell, there's not a single mistake. That's right, this exam paper contained not a single error. There were several intentionally tricky questions we included, Ouyang Cheng murmured. Even if I were to answer them, I'd likely fall into the traps and make a mistake. At this point, Ouyang Cheng's mind was filled with bewilderment. He had clearly seen that kid finish the paper in just half a shichen. He hadn't seemed to be taking it seriously at all. So how could he have gotten everything correct? To achieve this level of accuracy, even I couldn't do it. The Heavenly Dao Library within his mind could not only duplicate cultivation manuals and combine them into divine Heavenly Dao techniques, but it could also absorb knowledge and automatically answer the questions in his mind. Just a short while ago, he had spent 2 shichen reading, then promptly went to take the Alchemist Apprentice Assessment, and he had completed the written exam in merely half a shichen. Everyone had assumed he was just giving up in frustration. So, while the crowd of candidates waited anxiously outside for the results, he, on the other hand, appeared completely calm and composed. Before long, an apprentice walked out and faced the crowd. "Everyone, please pay attention." Seeing this, the receptionist shot him a sidelong glance, inwardly sneering, Now that the results are out, your charade will finally be exposed. Let's see how you try to keep up the act then." The apprentice began to announce the assessment results. 4. The first round, the written examination, a total of 3 individuals have passed. First place, Luoyuan City's Sun Tao, with an accuracy of 91%. The person named Sun Tao, upon hearing this, looked ecstatic. "That's me? I passed." The people around him quickly offered their congratulations. Then, the apprentice spoke again. Second place, Ziyun City's Chen Wenman, with an accuracy of 90%. "Yes, I passed." Hearing this, another person shouted excitedly. And the final person, Tianshuan City's Zhang Xuan, with an accuracy of... Reading up to this point, the apprentice's eyes widened in disbelief. 100% accuracy. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present erupted. What? 100%? Does that mean every single answer was correct? At this point, the apprentice interrupted the crowd's fervent discussion. "All right, the 3 individuals whose names were called, please come in for the second round of the assessment." Seeing him stand up, the receptionist thought with disdain, "All 3 names have been called. Can't keep up the act any longer, so he's finally leaving, huh?" However, at that very moment, she heard the apprentice urging him to hurry. Witnessing this, a dawning realization seemed to strike the receptionist. "No, don't tell me. You're Zhang Xuan?" He paid her no further attention, simply smiling as he walked towards the examination hall. Now the receptionist was utterly flabbergasted. "Zhang Xuan? His name is Zhang Xuan, the one with 100% accuracy on the assessment? Weren't you the one who didn't even know what was on the test?" She mentally shrieked. The middle-aged man at the side also looked on with a mixture of shock and admiration. That fellow actually got a perfect score. Meanwhile, he had already begun the second round of the assessment. In front of them, dozens of different medicinal herbs were laid out. Ouyang Cheng, standing on the platform, announced, "You will have the time it takes for 1 incense stick to burn. Write down the name, properties, and uses of each of these herbs. For this round, you must achieve 100% accuracy to pass. Begin." At that, he calmly picked up a plant. In the next instant, the Heavenly Dao Library displayed its information. All the information about this particular plant. A faint smile touched his lips, and then he began to write. Witnessing this, Ouyang Cheng couldn't help but marvel. It seems this young man is quite confident about the second round of assessment. As well, could it be that this boy is truly a prodigy in alchemy? Not only does he grasp the theory, but he also has an intimate knowledge of the actual medicinal ingredients. While he was lost in these thoughts, the protagonist had already completed the entire assessment. Damn it. So fast again. This can't be. Don't tell me I've actually stumbled upon a once-in-a-generation genius. Seeing him submit his paper, Duman also approached, curious. "Well, Brother Ouyang," Ouyang Cheng didn't say much, silently handing over the exam paper. "See for yourself." Duman took it, looked, and was immediately astonished. In the next second, the two of them could only stare at each other, speechless. Soon, the time it took for 1 incense stick to burn was up. With the end of the assessment, Ouyang Cheng began to announce the results. "All right, I declare that only 1 person has passed the second round of assessment." Hearing this, everyone below held their breath in anticipation. Only he remained perfectly calm. Just when he thought victory was assured, Ouyang Cheng pointed towards another candidate and said, "And that person is Luoyuan City's Sun Tao." Hearing this, Sun Tao's face lit up with excitement. It's me!" Meanwhile, the protagonist standing nearby was utterly bewildered. "That shouldn't be right. The Heavenly Dao Library couldn't possibly be wrong. How could I not have passed? Within his mind resided the Heavenly Dao Library. With a mere thought, he could access information about all things. Yet, in the Alchemist Apprentice Assessment, he had somehow failed. What on earth was going on? He was deeply puzzled by this, and so he spoke up, asking, "Esteemed alchemists, may I ask where I went wrong?" As soon as these words were spoken, the other two candidates were utterly shocked. Is he serious? This guy is actually questioning the alchemists directly. At this point, Ouyang, Cheng, and Du Man were also somewhat speechless. Neither of them had expected him to be so blunt. Then Ouyang Cheng explained, "That fish scale herb, you wrote it incorrectly as dragon scale herb, but don't be disheartened. Achieving a perfect score on the written exam demonstrates that your understanding of medicinal properties has already reached a certain level. In the future, as long as you carefully observe the medicinal ingredients and integrate that knowledge, you will surely pass next time." Du Man also offered words of comfort. "Indeed, you are still young. There's no need to rush. As long as you remain humble, eager to learn, and combine it with practical experience, it shouldn't take long for you to become a true alchemist apprentice." However, after hearing their explanations, he turned, picked up a plant, and said, "Are you referring to this? Are you both absolutely certain this is fish scale herb?" "Of course! The rhizome resembles fish scales, and the leaves are a bluish gray. If it's not fish scale herb, what else could it be?" Hearing this, he calmly stated, "For two esteemed alchemists to not even clearly identify the medicinal herb used in the examination, and then to conclude that I failed, isn't that a bit too hasty? If you don't believe me, there are books in the room outside. Please trouble someone to go and bring back the book titled Overview of Special Medicinal Herbs from the bottom of the 7th shelf." Hearing this, Ouyang Cheng, still skeptical, immediately had an apprentice fetch the book. After the book was brought over, he even thoughtfully prompted him to turn to page 17. There, you'll find a detailed description of fish scale herb. Hearing this, Ouyang Cheng couldn't help but begin to doubt. He even remembers the page number? Could it be that what he's saying is true? If so, wouldn't this boy's memory be almost supernaturally incredible? Muttering to himself, he flipped open. The book Du Man, at his side, asked impatiently, "Well, Brother Ouyang?" However, Ouyang Cheng was, at this moment, completely and utterly stunned. Seeing his expression, he smiled faintly. Since it's not fish scale herb, then it must be something similar to it. Among the myriad medicinal herbs, the only one that closely resembles it is the dragon scale herb that I wrote down. If you still don't believe me, you can go to the room we were just in, to the 4th shelf, top right corner.